So what are we talking about today?
Well, we have some of our listeners who want us to talk about the empty nest.
Empty nest. What does that mean to you?
It means that it's just you and me, baby.
That's true. What it means to me. So,
What does it mean to you?
not wearing clothes
Yeah.
anywhere I want in the house.
Yes, that's definitely part of it. Also, sex anywhere in the house we want.
Yeah, we pretty much did that before.
Nah, all, yeah, but it was always had to be very calculated.
That's true. But we had
So
babysitters, so
more spontaneity.
we christened the laundry room in the farmhouse, first place we lived. That was the only room that we hadn't. I guess we didn't really do it in our kids' rooms. That would be creepy.
We did too.
Only when we had to sleep in there when they were like at grandma's because we had guests. But we didn't really like go in there and say, "Hey, we've never done it in this room before. Let's knock one out in the crib."
You're reverting to the full nest.
Yeah, reverting to full nest. We've definitely had empty nest sex in all the rooms, right?
Yes.
Let's see, dining room check, kitchen check, living room absolutely. Let's see, not sure about the studio.
I'm not sure about the studio either.
Yeah,
Maybe not the studio. That's okay. You know, the empty nest, there, it is nice, the spontaneity, and Patty likes to wander around naked, so that's all sweet. But there is definitely an adjustment.
yeah. You spend basically, well, for starters, I'm going to preface everything I'm getting ready to say with I'd love to go back and have another shot at being more present while we had the kids, while we were such a big influence on them and everything else. Not that we were totally distracted the whole entire time. We weren't, but
we were distracted a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have different priorities when you're young, and you think you're supposed to put your last bit of effort into your job, and it's all for the family and everything else that the stories that you tell yourself. So we definitely did some of that, but we weren't like not there, just maybe not in the moment as much as we could have been. So it would be cool to go back and do all that over again. That said,
we don't get to do that.
No. And you did spend a lot of time where, especially when the kids got to be like 12, 13, 14 through 16, 17, and the moodiness, the hormones, all that, and you spend a little bit of time looking forward going, oh boy, I can't wait.
Yeah, that's true. But I think that I always knew that there would be some sadness when everybody was gone.
Yeah, because it's nice once they're gone, you're like, holy shit, this is awesome. We have the whole house back. Nobody's like leaving my tools in places where they shouldn't be, and you don't have to spend a bunch of time picking up laundry from various rooms in the house. Well, mine, sorry, you still have to do that.
I think mostly the laundry around the house was
but that's
yours.
only because I don't like to wear clothes, so I just take them off.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's a total natural thing. Everybody does that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you say so.
I would say that the joy of having your house back is shorter lived than all the time you spend missing your kids after they move out.
Yeah. There's also, I mean, I guess one of the other benefits is the freedom to travel. We weren't the parents who left our kids at home when we would travel, just not wanting to put that kind of responsibility on them. Yeah. And also maybe just worrying about whether, friends would come over and trash the place or get them in trouble or whatever. We just didn't want any excuses. So that was nice too, to be able to travel wherever and whenever we wanted.
That's true. And then not have to worry about sharing a hotel room with the kids.
Yeah.
Why don't you guys go down to the pool? I'm going to help Mom finish up this email.
But I think it's a lot like grief when they when they all leave.
Well, I think
For me,
ultimately
it was
we,
a grieving.
as parents, we want our kids to spread their wings, go out, take on the world, be healthy, happy, well-adjusted, and
That's it.
have limited problems. You know what I mean? That's what we wish for them. So when it's the hardest is when we're apart and they're struggling a little bit and you can't really do much to help them. And then there's the times when they're struggling a little bit and you try to help them and they won't listen to you anyway. But that's just like them living with you.
Yeah, and I think the recognition that, once they reach us, probably by the time they're 13, you're this great wisdom that you're trying to impart on them. I mean, you, you've already done it. By the time they're 13, they're making decisions on their own, and they need to be allowed to make mistakes. And I kind of wish that, this is a kind of wish thing too, that I had recognized that and not tried to interfere as much and or give them as much advice
I
through
feel
those
like
teen years. And now, I only give advice when I'm asked, and I think it's working great because I love my relationships with both the kids right now.
yeah, I feel like the only mistakes our kids make now is just not listening to my advice. Other than that, they're both doing great.
But how do you feel about your relationship with them?
It's good, except for when they don't listen to me.
How often is that?
Well, it's pretty much all the time, but my relationship's still good because I try not to let it bother me as much, and I also try not to lecture them.
I was going to say, what about, how do you think they feel about you giving them advice?
My kids are a little bit both of them are a lot like me
Your
when I was
kids,
young.
I like how you say my kids. They're ours. They're both ours.
Nope. We're not. There's not been any tests that prove that you're the real mom.
Yeah, I guess we never
need
did.
a
We never did
maternity
that.
test. We're gonna do a maternity test.
So
Although,
sorry to interrupt. Our kids.
the doctor would have had to pull a fast one on the one I watched come out of your hoo-hoo.
Yeah, it would have been pretty
That would
weird.
have been freaking David Copperfield-esque if that one wasn't yours.
Yeah. Plus, she's kind of a lot like me anyway.
Anyway, they're both a lot like me also in that when I was young, I just wanted to do everything myself. I wanted to kind of be independent. And
I think most kids want that.
yeah. But us as parents, we want to help our kids. We want to give them the shortcuts, all the shortcuts that we've learned. I'm 43 now, and
You're 43?
yeah, and and I've learned a lot of stuff, that could help them shorten their own learning curve. But I just want to do it my way. It's like, all right,
That's, you had to do it that way, and now you're watching our kids have to do it that way.
I didn't have to.
You chose to. You wanted to.
I know I wanted to, but I think my own. It was a teeny bit of a character flaw in that I didn't ask other people for help. Maybe I learned to do that now. I don't know, but I've learned that it's a good thing. And I didn't take advantage of all the help that I could have had back then. That would have helped me a lot,
Well, your dad was a pretty good lecturer, and I think you just ended up feeling resentful when he would do that, and seems like that'd be a good strategy to avoid with the kids.
Yeah, and I think the reason that I felt resentful is probably the same reason our kids do. It's like when you offer up advice and it's unsolicited, I think that
kind of no matter who you're talking to, really.
Somewhere along the way. No, I think with kids it's definitely more because, and maybe this has to do with how we parented them and, healthy self-esteems and everything else. But when you offer up the advice, a lot of times what I heard, and maybe what our own kids heard, is that they can't do it on their own. They can't. I can do it. Your way isn't the only way.
I think too, when our kids are telling us about their problems, we can kind of go back to the Michael Sorensen interview. They're not really looking for you to solve any of the problems. They just want to feel validated, just like every other adult. And so, when you jump in and try to solve the problem, and it deflates them and makes them feel defensive. And
Yep.
just like with all your other relationships, it's funny when they become adults and how how you have to completely change the way you interact with them.
It's a great example, actually.
Like I said, I really wish we had started that transition from how, starting to really treat them like adults in their later teen years. I think we would have had a lot less rebellion. I think they could have made their own mistakes. I mean, the challenge is that you don't want them to make any really bad mistakes that would leave them injured or, traumatized for life, for, having to go to jail, or, you want to try to prevent them from making those kinds of big mistakes. But I felt like we were so strict. We didn't even really want them to make any mistakes. Like, I felt like, we wanted them to do everything right, and that's just not realistic. So I wish we would have handled it. I don't know who it was. Oh, you know who it was? So the lady that created Spanx, and I don't remember her name. She's
awesome
a
billionaire lady.
Billionaire. She said that one of the things that happened in her household was that she'd come home from school, and during dinner, the conversation was, what mistakes did you make today? And those mistakes were celebrated because it meant that you were taking chances, that you were taking a risk, that you were trying new things. And that's exactly opposite of how I was raised, and I think how we raised our kids. I mean, we always used to say what's the best thing and the worst thing of your day, but that I feel like that let them vent about things, but it wasn't like,
we didn't give them the floor when we asked about the worst thing. They'd tell us the worst thing, and then we'd probably try to minimize it.
Yeah, instead of saying, God, that must, we could have validated. And then,
of course, what's funny about this topic is that the validation and not trying to be a problem solver that you're talking about, that we're working on now in our lives, is something that both our kids do. Every time we mention anything, they're both problem solvers too.
I think everybody tends towards problems. So I think validation it's not a thing that's well known or done in our culture. I think when you tell someone that you have a problem, I think almost everybody tries to fix it.
So that's something we could teach them. You teach them about validation, but they don't want to hear it.
Well, yeah, we can't teach them that unless they ask us about, trouble with their relationships, and we can say, oh, we learned this great thing. Right, honey?
Yeah, but.
Yeah, but.
Yeah.
You sound like ribbit, like a frog. Yeah, but no, what?
That was the yeah, but. In other words, when you go to agree with somebody and you follow it with a but, that just negates everything.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you're just mooning somebody. It's like you just mooned the statement that you just made. You showed her your ass.
You mooned my statement?
No, I mooned. I just threw a yeah, but in there as a joke.
Yeah, that I
didn't say mooning. A but. I didn't follow the but.
Isn't the but the mooning word, though?
It's a vertical
even if you
smile.
Didn't say anything?
What?
Even though you didn't say anything after that?
That was
you don't
a joke.
Think it counts?
God, woman. We're trying to talk to people about empty nests.
All right, what else do we have to say about it? It really is. And even still, there are days, where, well, not right now, but, when we're living alone, there are days where, I really miss the kids. Oh, that's something else I wanted to bring up about what's made it easier for me as the nest has emptied is, you have to be you walk a fine line of annoying the fuck out of your kids and being around for them, right? So we know some hover parents whose kids their parents are still hovering around them even though they're in college and they should be grown up, but their parents know everything about them. They talk to them on a daily basis, but it's almost like those kids they're almost unable. Again, what we're trying to do is free these children and have them live their own lives.
Free the young adults.
Yeah. Thank you. and the ones who have the hover parents, I feel really bad for them because they're not able. I mean, I think it creates some insecurity in some of those kids and rebellion in others. So I think there's a fine line that you have to walk with over communicating to your kids, texting them too much, annoying them, and letting them do their own thing and waiting for them to come to you. But there's also things like what I have done with our kids and
What if
Paddy.
your kid's a complete dumbass?
Well, he still has to go out in the world and do his thing.
Why'd you say he? They.
I feel like if the kid's a complete dumbass, it's probably a guy.
Oh my gosh. It was actually a joke.
So was mine.
I've known plenty of girls that were dumbasses, trust me. Anyway, it was just kind of a joke. I have a point to that though, and that is that when
I didn't get to say my great strategy, but go ahead.
Oh, you go.
My great strategy is that every year I set up a trip with each of the kids, and it's usually over a weekend, and it's just the two of us, and that's my opportunity to rebond with each of them. Now, neither one of them is married, and they don't have children yet, but even I'll still be trying to angle for that, even if they do have families, even though it's unrealistic. But I think it's a great way to stay close to your kids without, and we always pick somewhere that we both want to go together.
It's an adventure trip.
Yeah, and it's an adventure, and they want to go, and you kind of get to spoil them a little bit. So that's something that's really worked to help me have something to look forward to and spend time one-on-one with the kids so I don't miss them as much. Because I think no matter how old you are, I think you still love and miss your kids if they're not around.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they still end up costing you money too, so they're never really officially empty nest. Until they're making more money than you. There just seems to be that little. I mean, the sucking sound isn't as bad as when they live with you.
No, and I think both of our kids are, they're pretty independent right now. We're not paying for much.
We still pay cell phone bills.
I know, but part of me wants to pay those so that I can get a hold of them if I want to. And they're both in a position where they could pay their own cell phone bills.
If they both weren't blowing up our data with porn, then maybe that would be a good idea.
How do you know it's porn?
I don't know what else sucks that much bandwidth.
Netflix.
I don't know. Actually, I could go a whole.
Not that there's anything wrong with porn or having them watch it. I'm fine with all that.
Yeah.
Just for the record, I have zero judgment.
This sucks a lot of bandwidth.
I like a little porn every once in a while. You can't see us. Pat's trying to deep throat the mic.
I was afraid I was going to get caught in my mouth.
Yeah, you could break a tooth on these.
Or you could choke yourself to death. I was just trying to show I could deep throat the mic, and then I couldn't get it out of my mouth.
I sometimes feel like that.
Deep throating the mic?
No, that I'm going to choke myself to death.
With what?
Things that are down my throat.
Well, why don't you tell me more about this Mike guy?
I didn't say anything about Mike. That was what you said.
Oh. I guess
well,
I gotta
sorry,
go.
I keep kicking the table.
Yeah. All right, so there's our final 2 cents on the empty nest.
I thought you were going to say something profound.
No, I forgot. You just kept talking, and then I couldn't even get a word in vertical.
I was talking about the hover parents.
Yeah.
Is it something about that?
No. I don't know what it was. It couldn't have been that profound if I forgot it already.
All right. No more jewels you have to share with
No, I got one really good one
today.
This is my closing words on the empty nest. It's hard. It's not impossible, and there's a lot of fun that you can have. But even when you're doing trips together, you're like, oh, I kind of wish the kids were with us, So some of it, and then the other hard part is the older they get, the harder and harder it becomes to coordinate schedules. So I was trying to plan something for Christmas because as they get older and they change jobs and they get a little bit more, the jobs become a little bit more professional. It becomes harder and harder for them to take time off. So just planning a Christmas trip, I'm like, I can't take off over Christmas. And like one kid's like, well, I can get 3 days, these 3. And the other one's like, I can get these last 2. And it becomes really difficult. So Enjoy the time.
advantage. Take
Enjoy the
advantage.
time while you have it.
Yeah.
Start your adventure trips actually now. I mean, you started doing them with Claire while she still lived with us.
Yeah. You know, it's funny how we've been talking almost all about how we relate to the kids, but we haven't really given anybody relationship tips about how to navigate the empty nest, because what does happen, like we talked about the grief, but the other thing that happens, and it was like even more intense with us, is that now there's not a lot of distraction between you and your partner. And for us, we also sold a business, and we were both working from home as soon as we emptied the nest. So there we both were at home all day,
Naked.
sometimes naked. But if we hadn't been friends, if we hadn't been really close friends, I think that would have been really, it wouldn't have been as joyful. I mean, I don't know what you think, but
Yeah. I mean,
and it was even, I mean, we definitely had to rework, some of the way we relate to each other. Do you think that's true?
I can't answer that question
Why?
because I already gave my parting words.
Please, will you answer it?
No, I think right behind, I think number one is naked, and number two is friends. Being friends is pretty important.
So
That's
I guess
dumb.
I guess if we were going to give relationship advice about the empty nest, is don't wait till the nest is empty to work on your relationship. Start working on it now. Make sure your friendship is solid. Make sure that you have enough emotional intimacy to help each other grieve, and to be faced with just each other every night and every morning. And
Yep. And it's a lot easier when you're friends. You got a really good, solid relationship, and then you can look at each other and laugh about who fucked our kids up the most, as opposed to blaming each other and arguing about it.
And as always, like, we don't say this, but I think you can tell if you've listened to any of our podcasts, we use humor constantly to relieve, any tension between us.
Yep.
Okay.
That's all I know.
Well, I guess we should sign off then.
Fine.
Until next time.